Hi class, we're looking at lesson 11.2, which is simplifying sums and differences of radical expressions as well as simplifying products and quotients of radical expressions. Remember, like radicals are radicals with the same term inside the radicand, so the same number or value or variables inside the house. Unlike radicals, have different numbers inside the radicand. So the square root of 3 and the square root of 5 are different as opposed to the square root of 2 and the square root of 2. Conjugates are the sum and difference of the same two terms. The product of two conjugates is the difference of two perfect squares, and we'll talk about that. These are like our special cases in which we ended up with when we were foiling, and we ended up with x squared minus y squared type things. So think about those. Those will be conjugates. X minus 3 times x plus 3 in parentheses. That would give us x squared minus 9, the difference of two perfect squares. So let's get started with adding like radicals. So here we can see we have the square root of 4 root 3 plus 3 root 3. Imagine this is 4x plus x. What would we get? Remember, it's understood to have a 1 right here. So we have 4 root 3 plus 1 root 3. 4 plus 1 is 5 root 3. Because those are like terms, we can add. Let's look at our next example. So now we have 8 root 5 minus the square root of 45. Well, first off, the square root of 45 is not in simplest radical form. So we have to imagine and think about it in simplest radical form. And we see that we have the perfect square factor of 9 is a factor of 45. So we have the 9 here can come out as 3 root 5. And now we have like terms in which we can subtract. 8 root 5 minus 3 root 5 is just like 8x minus 3x gives us 5 root 5. Go ahead and try the two quick checks right below. When you're ready, you can restart and reveal the answers. So we have negative 7 root 5 for 1a, and 1b is negative 4 root 10. And again, negatives work just the same as our integer rules as we have in the past. So now let's look at using the distributive property. And again, none of these rules are any different just because we have radicals. So we want to make sure that we're following anything that we would if these were numbers or variables. So in this case, we have to distribute in order to get a simplified product. So we're going to take the root 5 and multiply it by root 8, and 5 times 8 is 40. So we get the square root of 40, and we get plus 9 times root 5 is 9 root 5. Now the square root of 40 is not simplified because we have a perfect square factor of 4. So we can take out that 4. Remember, 4 times 10 gives us 40. And we know that the square root of 4 is 2. So we have 2 root 10 plus 9 root 5. Can we add those terms? No, we cannot because they are not like terms. Be very careful there. Let's look at another example here. We're now using FOIL with radicals. And again, FOIL works the same way. Remember, we have to multiply our first terms. So we have root 6 times root 6. 6 times 6 is 36. So we have the square root of 36, which is 6. First, outer, root 6 times square root of 21 gives us plus, I'm just going to leave that 6 times 21 for now. And then we have our inners, negative 3 root 21 times root 6 gives us 6 times 21 inside here. And then we have our last one, which we get negative 3 times root 21 times root 21, which means that's 3 times 21, which is going to give us minus 63. Okay, so now let's simplify our radicals here. And because we have a factor of 3 here and a factor of 3 here, I know, and that's 3 times 2, and that's 3 times 7. Simplest radical form for the square root of 6 times 21 is going to be 3 root 14. Okay, now over here we already have a factor of 3, so that's going to be minus 9 root 14, which when we combine those, that's going to give me negative 6 root 14. And then we have our 6 here and our minus 63, which can combine to make negative 57. So we have negative 57 minus 6 root 14. And we'll do another example like this in class. Please make sure you ask. Go ahead and try the quick checks. Work carefully, watch your signs, and check your work. So here we have with a quick check, 2a, 8 root 5 in simplest radical form. In 3 is 2 root 5 plus 5 root 2. Those are not the same, even though they kind of look the same. To watch, they're not like terms, so we can't combine them. When we FOIL for a, we get negative 33 minus 21 root 2. When we combine like terms with b, we have negative 3 root 3. In b here, we get 2x root 3 minus 11 root 2x. And in b, when we square it, remember, you cannot just square the root 7 and square the 4. You have to FOIL. When it's all said and done, you get 23 plus 8 root 7. Again, we'll practice these in class. Please make sure if you have any questions, write those down. And also, please make a note of any VIPs you might have.